Every so often, young leaders are advised to take up leadership positions or are told they are the leaders of tomorrow. The difference is when some decide to stand up and daringly take up the position while some wait until they are the leaders of tomorrow. I believe in giving such young leaders my platform and the visibility they so deserve. Welcome to my YouTube channel and thank you for watching my previous video. If you haven't already, please watch and please subscribe. So today I am joined by one such young leader, very ambitious and inspiring Kajiado North Member of Parliament. Welcome to my show. Please tell us your name and where you're from.
Thank you, Emeldah, for inviting me to your show. First of all, congratulations on your new show. I was hoping to be the first interviewee, but we are here, and I thank God. So my name is Dennis Leyan Siole. I was born and raised in Kiserian, that is part of Kajiado North. I went to school here at Olonana Primary, but for high school I went to Maini, to Red Hill. And then for my university I went to the United States International University, where I went to study for international relations.
USIU.
USIU, yes. So I went to specialize in diplomacy and foreign policy. So that is what I really wanted to do. Ndio nijue mambo ya kazi ya kukuwa ambassador.
Correct.
So that was my passion. Yes.
From such ambassadorial dreams to now an aspiring Kajiado North Member of Parliament. Very young. Would you mind to tell us how old you are?
Yes, I'm turning 28.
All right.
Yes, I'm turning 28.
So have you worked before, or what career background do you have?
Yes, I have some job experience. My first job experience was at Nyayo House, where I did some internship for some months, and I got that experience of working in a government institution.
Okay.
And then after working at Nyayo House, I went to the private sector in finance, where I specialized in assessing clients and in terms of giving loans and things like that.
Okay.
So that is a job experience that I have. But apart from that, I have always been working with the community. That's the biggest job experience I've had, because no one teaches you how to handle the people in the community. So that's where I've met a lot of people, and that's where I've interacted with many people, and that is the experience that I'm really proud of in terms of working with the community. And that's through various initiatives that I may have started or joined. There is an initiative I started which was called Changamka Tournament.
Okay.
So this tournament was aimed at exposing young people to football skills and aligning them with, scouts and people like that. And then I've also done some environment work with people from here, Kajiado North. We are still doing it. We're urging people to plant trees, clean the environment. I also have a youth mentorship program that I partnered with an organization which is called Taifa Teule Leadership Program. So this is where we train youths on how to be leaders in the community. Yes.
I was part of that ELX. He was our president in the class, so I believe in his leadership. Now, when people talk about leadership, they start huko. Some were prefects in school. Has that experience been the same for you?
Yes. My first leadership experience is me being a firstborn.
Okay.
So when you're a firstborn, you're already thrown into leadership. That's a leadership position, so you have to be the better version or a better example for your younger siblings.
Okay.
But I started leadership as young as when I was in class 3. That's when I was first elected to be class prefect. And I went all the way to class 8. And then in high school, I was the CU chaplain, where I did from Form 2 to Form 4. Apart from that, I was also the tennis captain in high school. Then I went to university. In my first semester, I was a tennis captain again in university. But apart from that, I was also the chairman of Young Diplomats Forum. So these are young people who are being mentored in doing diplomatic work. Kazi hii kama ya ambassador kwa wale ambao hawaelewi. So I was the chairman of Young Diplomats Forum for 2 years. And that's why I started really learning about leadership. And apart from that, even when I was working, I joined a program called Emerging Leaders Foundation. Okay. It's a very, very big organization that mentors young people in terms of leadership. Okay. And there I also go to serve as president for my cohort at ELF, which is led by a very wonderful lady called Karen Wakoli. Okay. Yes. Okay. That is my leadership experience.
That one is a very rich one, very rich one. We thank you for that. Now on everything that you've said, why Member of Parliament? You see, as a young person and you want to put yourself out there for the first time, you're told to start as an MCA. But here you are, you do not want to start there and gone right into the deep end as Member of Parliament. What is the urge? What has pushed you to get there?
First of all, when we started, I mentioned my age. Yeah. I'm 28.
Very young.
I know I'm very young. Yeah. But the Constitution allows people my age to vie for parliamentary position. Okay. And so first of all, it's my constitutional right. Okay. So no one can tell me that I'm too young, yet the Constitution has allowed me to vie for such a position. Secondly, I went for that position because I saw that is a very influential position in terms of the things I want to achieve in helping my community, and that is Kajiado North at large. And also, I think I'm going to use this campaign period as I vie for this position. Hii position ambayo watu wanaambiwa it's a very big position for me to also inspire young people and show them do not be limited by anything. Do not be told by people you're too young to do something or anything that you want to dream of. So I'm also using that opportunity to challenge young people and show them nothing should stop you in vying for these positions. If you want to lead, just go out there and do your part. Tuchangamke bana.
All right. So as your constitutional right, which is very right. Now, one thing, when you are giving your story, you've spoken about sports. It seems something has come off as sports being your passion. So tell us, with the Constituency Development Fund, if you are elected in 2022, what would be the one thing that you would do?
First of all, I realized that sports is a very big thing for young people. Right now, if you want to talk to young people, if you come and tell them, let's come and let's talk about public participation, no one is going to come. But if you do a big tournament, a football tournament, the young people are going to be there. So that's an avenue of reaching out to the young people. Okay. And then number two, I'm not going to give any big promises that I'm going to build a stadium, ama nini. First of all, I realize that most local teams here do the training in public fields, in public schools. Okay. And you know, as an MP, unapeanga CDF money to build schools or improve schools. Yeah. And I think we focus so much on classrooms, dormitories, and dining halls. But I think we also need to also have a sort of kitty to also cater for the fields, because this field is being used by the school and is also being used by the local teams around there. So you see, even if someone comes and builds a stadium, let's say here in Ngong, it's not all teams that are going to come and practice at Ngong. That's why they're going to maybe have their finals, but training, si kila mtu ataweza ku access that facility. But if that public school, your field, iko sawa, that team is empowered enough in terms of having a good place where they can train. So that's one of the agendas I'm trying. That's those small things that we can improve. is going to help sports in this area. And then another thing, sports can be a very good economic booster to our constituency. That's an avenue that attracts marketers for big brands. And when they come to Seme, right now we do a partnership. A team does a partnership with betting companies. They're going to provide them with equipments to train and also maybe pay them to play and market their brand. So sports is a very influential thing that has not been tapped well in this constituency. But that's not the only thing I'm going to focus on. Definitely that's just because you asked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's delve into the one of many things that an MP is responsible for. Given security, education is one thing that you can't downplay. Given the 100% secondary school transition, we find that so many people cannot access good quality education, and the buck starts and stops with the MP. So let's delve into that and many other responsibilities that are with the MP.
Yeah. So, your job as a member of parliament is legislation and oversight.
Okay.
And key areas are, as you mentioned, education, security, things like that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, you mentioned education.
Yeah.
One thing I can say and must admit is the current person who is there has tried in terms of education. But we find a situation where, yes, many people are going to school, secondary school, nini, but after school, that's where the problem begins, after high school. People are lacking opportunities in terms of maybe jobs or even opportunities in terms of accessing these higher education institutions. So that's why I'm going to focus on, because at least the current regime has done a lot of, or has tried their best in terms of primary and secondary education. So I want to take over from there. So these children who have been accessing these facilities, now what next after high school? Now that's where I want to put my concentration and effort in. But that does not mean that I'm going to neglect lower education facilities but I'm still going to improve, but my main focus is going to be what next after school. That's where I want to put my concentration on.
All right. As a woman and as a person who advocates for girls' rights and living in Kajiado and Kajiado North, there are so many social or cultural practices that are bringing indignity, first to the 21st century that we are in, and to the woman. As a member of parliament, if you are elected, what will you do to curb such vices? And while at it, please address the issue of drugs, drug abuse and alcohol.
Okay. Well, you mentioned about something to do with a girl child.
Yeah.
And one of the initiatives that I've done before is distributing sanitary towels to girls who are from disadvantaged backgrounds. And we did this to make sure that they're not going to miss the KCSE exams because of such a sensitive issue. So that's something I have seen and witnessed. Maybe FGM is not rampant here in Kajiado North, but here in Kajiado North, okay. But the issue with sanitary towels is something that we should not underestimate, even in terms of legislation. There are countries that have passed policies or laws whereby sanitary pads should be free to all students. And I think there was something like that here in Kenya, but in terms of implementation, it was not done. So that's something, in terms of legislation, that's something that I'm going to try and work on and make sure that every student is supposed to have free access to sanitary towels, because I mean, condoms are free. Why can't sanitary towels, which are very sensitive, not be free? And then so that when girls have such kind of facilities, it's easier for them to do their education. And you see, another thing why we have the issue of teenage pregnancies is because some of these people engage in sex so that they're able to buy these things.
Okay.
So if you do that, you're going to curb some of these issues. So in terms of the girl child and education, that's something that I'm going to try and make sure in terms of legislation that we have free sanitary towels for every student who is primary and high school.
All right.
Yeah.
Now you spoke about us having good policies, but implementation is the problem. And one such thing is, let's just openly say, it's corruption. And corruption is happening everywhere. What is the assurance that you give to the constituents of Kajiado North that once in office, I am going to use, or what, in terms of accountability, what avenues do you think members of parliament or you will use once you're in office?
You know, first of all, if you ask me such a question,
Yes.
I can tell you that I'm not corrupt or I'm not going to be corrupt. But one thing I can say is I'm going to work on, if there is good accountability, corruption is minimal.
And while you speak about accountability, please speak about the channels of accountability, because I feel that is a major loophole.
Yeah. So I'm going to really work on accountability even in management of the constituency.
Okay.
When you have a project, let's say in this area, you're supposed to involve the community, and the community is the community around here is supposed to oversee that project, to have ownership of that project.
Okay.
So you see, when now the community is involved like that, there is less chances of me as a politician or me and my office engaging in corruption, because the community is on the lookout. So those are some of the things that I'm going to try and work on in terms of accountability, to make sure that corruption is at the minimal. But at the end of the day, corruption is an individual thing. It's about what you do when people are not looking.
Yeah.
So if everyone, not just me as a politician, but if everyone decided to change their ways, I think we're going to be okay. Yes.
I think we can talk about corruption, implementation, and that office for the whole day. It will require 3 interviews to do that. Yeah. But first, let me ask whether you are affiliated to any political party at the moment.
Well, I am,
okay,
but I'm not going to discuss about party politics right now.
Okay.
What I'm engaged in right now is selling my candidacy and telling people about what I'm going to do. Mambo ya chama hiyo ni baadaye.
Okay. Are we expecting something like a launch of your candidacy, or this is it? Should we consider this a launch?
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. This is not even a bad place to launch my candidacy. But mambo ya party politics, hiyo tutaongea in good time.
Should we expect a launch now? Or how are you going to officially say that? Or you have already officially declared?
If there is going to be a launch, we are going to communicate.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So what would you like to tell your fellow aspirants at this juncture?
Now, before I even talk to my fellow aspirants, there is one thing that I've realized here in Kajiado North. We had a very low turnout in terms of voter registration.
Oh, and you were actively involved in advocating for voter registration.
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Now, we started a thing called Kajiado North Youth Caucus, whereby some youth from Kajiado North team up and try and, engage in activities that involve the youth. And one of our biggest projects was taking part in, educating people about taking their vote, na kuchukua kura. And we realized that most young people have not gone to register as voters. Yeah. And if there is something I'm going to emphasize, is please, young people, if you want to take part if you want to take part in change, in changing how things are being done in this constituency, if you're not happy then chukua kura, kwa sababu hiyo kura ni sauti yako. So musiseme ati sitaamka ati.
People are tired.
Yes, I know people are tired, but if you're tired about the current regime, then go and take a vote and vote them out. If you want them to remain, then take a vote so that they can remain. So it goes both ways. If you want the current regime to stay as it is, take a vote, defend it. If you want it to go out, take a vote, vote it out. But please, 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 ninaomba especially the young people, tafadhalini chukueni kura, kwa sababu tunawategemea you're the change that we need.
But mass voter registration iliisha, so where can they go and take the kura right now?
Well, the mass registration is the one that ended, but if you still want to register or change your vote, you can visit, I think here in Kajiado North, you can go to Ngong, around the DO's office, constituency office.
The IEBC constituency.
Yes, the IEBC constituency office. But apart from that, you can also ask your area chief about that. I'm sure they're going to explain to you, but mambo ya kuchukua kura haijaisha. So tafadhalini sahi, na hakuna line. Hakuna line. Najua Kenya wanaogopa line, lakini hakuna line. So tafadhalini, young people, we are counting on you.
All right. So would you also like to tell your fellow aspirants something? Off camera, you had told me something about being ambassadors of tolerance, political tolerance, the message of peace and such.
Now to my fellow aspirants or fellow competitors, notice I haven't said enemies, but these are my competitors. We are just competing for the same seat. What I'd like to say, na maybe niseme tu nichanganye na Kiswahili ndio kila mtu anielewe. Tafadhalini tusiwache watu wapigane kwa sababu yetu ama kwa sababu ya kutafuta hii kazi. Let us be the ambassadors of peace, and we are influential. You have your own people, me I have my people, you have your people. So we should be the ones who should be encouraging them not to engage in any violent activities just for the sake of protecting our votes. So kindly, there are institutions that are there to ensure that there is a smooth election. We have IBC, we have the police in terms of security. We also have independent, what are they called? Independent observers. So kindly, tafadhali, fellow aspirants, tusichochee watu kupigana kwa sababu yetu. Hii kiti si lazima. Ukishindwa wewe, haikufungii opportunity ya kuserve the community when you don't get that seat. So kindly let us be tolerant of one another, and tuuze sera, tusiuze siasa mingi, uza sera.
As a young aspirant, and I would imagine finances are a thing in campaigning and in politics, what challenges have you encountered so far?
Pesa saa zingine ni kitu very sensitive ukienda kwa ground, because you find there are people who don't want to listen to you. They're just waiting for you to handouts. And that's a big challenge in terms of even you trying to sell your policies ama manifesto. So you find even us as politicians, we stop now focusing on selling our manifesto. We start focusing on how we are going to buy people. And when you go to that direction, we are going to lose, because if now we vote people just because of the handouts we get, we are the ones who are going to lose as voters. So that's a challenge. But mimi ninaambia wananchi, mkipewa pesa msikatae, kuleni, lakini ukikula kura yako, kuwa na wisdom kidogo. Do not let that 100 decide your vote. You take it juu umepewa, but in terms of voting, hiyo mia isikuwe determining factor ya ule mtu ambaye utachagua.
Okay, as we finish this interview, Leanne, I'd like you to look at that camera and tell your constituents something, or your final words as we finish.
Again, I'm going to insist to the young people, or those who have not taken their votes, kindly register as a voter. And not just because of voting for me, but for you to vote for that person you want. Secondly, I would also like to emphasize on tolerance. Let us be tolerant of each other. We may be supporters of different people, but at the end of the day, we are neighbors, we are brothers, and we are sisters. So let us be tolerant of one another even during this campaign season. And finally, I would like just to say, wacha nichukue hii nafasi kuomba kura watu wa Kajiado North. Ninaomba tafadhalini, come next year, kumbukeni kijana wenyu Dennis Leon Siole for MP.
Okay, we have come to the end of the interview, and if you've made it this far, again, thank you so much. And if you haven't watched my last video, please watch. And guys, I have so many views but very few subscribers, so let us please subscribe. Remember, we are growing this community. Thank you.